The story of the Crucifixion. As the sun began to set over Jerusalem, casting warm golden light across the ancient stones, a profound story was about to unfold. The air was filled with the sweet scent of spring blossoms, and the streets were growing quiet as the Passover celebration approached. In a peaceful garden called Gethsemane, beneath the twisted branches of ancient olive trees, Jesus sat in deep contemplation with his closest friends. The garden was a place of tranquility, where silvery leaves whispered in the evening breeze, and the soft earth was cool beneath their feet. Jesus had often come here to pray and find solace, and on this evening, the garden held a special significance. He knew that challenging moments lay ahead, yet he faced them with unwavering grace and acceptance. In the gathering dusk, the disciples rested nearby, their weary eyes growing heavy as night descended. The gentle rustling of leaves and the distant sounds of the city created a peaceful backdrop to their rest. Jesus moved a short distance away to pray, his heart full of love for all humanity. He spoke softly to his Father, accepting the path that lay before him with remarkable courage and compassion. The evening air grew cooler, and the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky above Jerusalem. It was in these quiet moments that Jesus demonstrated one of life's most profound lessons, showing how to face difficult times with dignity and trust in a greater purpose. His prayers were not filled with fear or resistance, but with gentle acceptance and endless love. As torchlight approached through the garden, casting flickering shadows among the trees, Jesus remained peaceful and composed. Even as guards arrived with Judas, Jesus responded with kindness and understanding. There was no anger in his voice as he spoke to his friend who had chosen a different path, only a soft sadness and continuing compassion. The disciples, awakening to the commotion, were alarmed and confused, but Jesus remained a center of calm in the midst of chaos, reminding them through his actions that peace and love were stronger than fear or violence. When one disciple acted in anger, Jesus' gentle words reminded them all that this was not the way of love. As Jesus was led through the quiet streets of Jerusalem, the night air carried the weight of destiny. The stone paths echoed softly with footsteps as they made their way to where the religious leaders had gathered. Throughout the long hours of questioning, Jesus maintained his serene presence, responding with wisdom and grace to those who sought to challenge him. The first light of dawn was beginning to touch the eastern sky when Jesus was brought before Pilate. The morning air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of dew and early spring flowers. The Roman governor, draped in his formal robes, looked upon Jesus with curiosity and uncertainty. Despite the growing tension around him, Jesus stood with quiet dignity, his presence touching the hearts of many who witnessed these moments. As morning fully arrived, the sun cast long shadows across the courtyard where crowds had gathered. The air was filled with murmured voices and the soft rustling of robes. Through it all, Jesus remained focused on his mission of love, knowing that each moment was part of a greater story of redemption and hope. When the soldiers placed a crown of thorns upon his head, Jesus accepted it without bitterness. His thoughts were not of himself, but of others, his heart remaining open even to those who misunderstood his message. The purple robe they draped around his shoulders could not diminish the true majesty of his spirit, which shone through with quiet radiance. Along the path that led through Jerusalem, many who had welcomed him days before now stood in confused silence. Yet there were those who wept softly, feeling deeply moved by his unwavering grace. Jesus, even in these difficult moments, turned his thoughts to consoling others, speaking words of comfort to those who mourned. The morning sun climbed higher as they reached the hill called Golgotha. The air was still, and distant birds sang their morning songs. Unaware of the solemn events unfolding below, here, Jesus continued to demonstrate the depth of his teaching about love and forgiveness, extending compassion to everyone around him, even in his most challenging moments. As the sun reached its highest point in the sky, Jesus spoke words of forgiveness and love that would echo through centuries to come. His voice remained gentle and clear, carrying no trace of anger or resentment. Even in these moments, he thought of others, ensuring his mother would be cared for and offering comfort to those nearby. The afternoon light began to soften as clouds gathered above Jerusalem. A hushed stillness fell over the hill, broken only by quiet whispers and the gentle stirring of the wind. Those who watched felt a deep sense that they were witnessing something profound, something that transcended their immediate understanding. As the sky darkened unusually for that time of day, a sacred silence descended upon the land. It was as if nature itself was participating in this solemn moment. The air grew still, and even the birds ceased their songs. In these quiet hours, Jesus completed his earthly journey with the same grace and purpose with which he had lived. Near the end, he spoke of his thirst, reminding us of his complete humanity even in these transcendent moments. His final words were spoken with peaceful acceptance, entrusting his spirit to his Father. As he breathed his last, the earth responded with gentle tremors, and the temple veil was parted from top to bottom, symbolizing a new connection between heaven and earth. As evening approached, the clouds began to part, and soft light once again touched the hill. A respected member of the council named Joseph of Arimathea came forward with gentle reverence to care for Jesus' body. With careful tenderness, he and others wrapped Jesus in clean linen, treating him with the dignity he had shown to all throughout his life. In a peaceful garden nearby, there was a new tomb carved from the rock. Here they laid Jesus to rest as the Sabbath approached. The setting sun cast long shadows across the garden, and a cool evening breeze stirred the flowers that grew among the rocks. Those who loved him departed quietly, carrying in their hearts the memory of his endless love and compassion. As night settled over Jerusalem, a deep peace descended upon the garden where Jesus rested. The stars emerged one by one in the velvet sky, their eternal light a reminder of divine presence even in moments of darkness. Though his followers felt great sadness, there was also a profound sense that this was not the end of the story, but rather a sacred pause in a greater journey. The next day, the Sabbath, was one of quiet reflection. Throughout Jerusalem, people pondered the events they had witnessed, remembering the gentle teacher who had touched so many lives with his wisdom and compassion. In homes and gathering places, they spoke in hushed tones of his teachings about love, forgiveness, and the kingdom of heaven. The story of Jesus' final days teaches us enduring lessons that can bring peace to our hearts as we rest. We learn that love can remain steady and true, even in life's most challenging moments. His example shows us that forgiveness has the power to transform both the giver and receiver, creating ripples of healing that extend far beyond our immediate circumstances. In his final hours, Jesus demonstrated that true strength often comes wrapped in gentleness, and that real power lies not in dominance, but in sacrificial love. He showed us that peace can exist even in the midst of difficulty, and that dignity can be maintained through the most trying circumstances. As we reflect on this story, we might find comfort in knowing that moments of darkness can lead to profound transformation. Just as the garden tomb would soon reveal its miraculous surprise, our own times of challenge may hold within them the seeds of unexpected grace.